I was always drawn to working with my hands, so it was very natural for me to study sculpture when I went to art school. My sculpture teacher was a big Italian, robust guy who apprenticed in Italy, and it was hard materials, wood, metal, plaster, stone that filled the studio. And then it was an unlikely encounter in a pottery class that changed my life. Suddenly the teacher began to transform a lump of clay. The material flowed off his fingers. I was mesmerized. I was enamored. It was as though he was waltzing with the clay. It was a dance. Before I even put my fingers into the soft, cool mud, I knew that this was the material that I had to work with. I'm Stephen Branfman, and I work in the Raku technique. A vessel is a container. It grows from the bottom up and the inside out. And many potters see the surface of their work as a canvas on which they decorate. I see the surface of my work as a skin. There's a difference, there's a force, there's a presence, there's a volume that's contained within. And it's this interior that defines the vessel. When I come into the studio to work, I know what I'm going to make. I know what each individual piece is going to look like. That begins with taking the clay out of the bag or the bucket, preparing it, and putting it on the wheel. The throwing process itself is one of solitude. It has a very high meditative quality. It's a very quiet and a very personal kind of experience that I have with the clay. But the most important thing to express is that making vessels is not random. I'm not making decisions as I go along. I have a shape in mind, I have a form in mind, I have a finished vessel in mind. And in fact, when I put the clay on the wheel, I'm already thinking ahead to how I'm going to glaze it, how I'm going to fire it, and what it's going to look like when it's completely finished. It was in graduate school that I was introduced to a Japanese firing method called Raku. Raku is a process that offers a lot for me because it is historic, it is cultural. I'm very tied into the history of my craft, and yet it is very contemporary, it's very modern, and it's very individual. My Raku work is often not recognized as Raku, and that is one of the things that pleases me the most. When somebody looks at my work and they see that it's labeled as Raku, and they comment, they say, this can't be Raku. It's the colors aren't right, the surfaces aren't right, the textures aren't right, the shapes aren't right. And I just smile and I say that's what makes my work different and a little bit unique from kind of mainstream Raku pottery. What differentiates Raku firing from conventional firing is that in conventional firing, the work is fired over a period of 8 to 24 hours or even longer, and then the kiln is allowed to cool before the work is removed. A Raku firing is much different. The firing can take as little as an hour, and the work is removed while it's still hot. The glaze is molten. At this point, the ware can be manipulated through fast cooling, through the application of other chemicals, and the effect of a carbon atmosphere around the piece. One of the aspects of pots and the vessel that's always attracted me is that a pot can be as valid and as aesthetic as a sculptural object, with the added benefit of it being functional and being able to be used. I'm often asked, especially by my young students, how can you be doing the same thing for so long? Well, it's not the same thing. Every encounter with clay is new, fresh, exciting, and it moves my work forward. It's what an artist does. What drives me today? It's the journey of making work, and that journey's not over.